Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 836. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
Radio Free Skaro, the reliable Doctor Who podcast.
Not good, just
bringing you news and notes, and part 4, the final part of our Remembrance of the Daleks commentary, classic series commentary today. So that's coming up. Also, Emily Cook from Doctor Who Magazine, who will be at Gallifrey One in a couple weeks' time, will also drop by to talk about a very RFS-targeted Doctor Who magazine, as I mentioned in the chat with her, just because there's lots of stuff that we have actually had on the show. Jess Jerkovic is profiled in them. We had him earlier during his Dudley Simpson quest, and then Paul Hayes is there talking about the revival of Doctor Who in 2005, and of course he was on the show earlier in December. So basically it's just Doctor Who Magazine just saying, hey, you know what? We should just totally just take every idea that Radio Free Skaro has done in the past 6 months and do a magazine about it. And that's pretty much what they did. And so I hold them to task on that. They even have a Michael Ferguson tribute. I don't like Michael Ferguson. He, of course, died in, October was it? I think. A while ago.
I cannot recall at this point.
Sure,
I don't know.
I'll take your word for it.
I watched
it's happened in the past. We have moved on.
That's true. I know. Well, listen, on this podcast, we never move on.
Oh, God, no.
Nope.
We wallow so much.
I watched, because I'm in my daily quest, I just finished the Crotons last night. And so what I do when I finish one story is that I watch the VAM of the next story right after it to prepare myself. And so I watched all the VAM for the Seeds of Death. And Michael Ferguson is in that, of course, because he directed it. So it's good to see him talk about Doctor Who from beyond the grave, because he's dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those DVDs are Galaxy Quest style historical documents at this point.
They kind of are, actually. Somewhat sad. Speaking of DVDs, we haven't got, Chris and I ordered our Web of Fear DVDs from the BBC shop. And they're supposed to ship by February 1st, and they haven't shipped yet.
No.
This is a soap opera I'm glad to not be a part of. It just reminds me of when I was tracking my sleep on my watch, and then all that ever happened was I just looked and said, I'm not getting enough sleep, and got stressed out about it. So I stopped tracking sleep on my watch, and I feel much better now. And I'm less stressed about it.
That's a bold, I like that.
You changed the outcome by measuring it.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah. So it's annoying because I saw that Graham Burke, he posted on Twitter like literally a week ago while we were recording that he got it. And I don't know if he ordered it and it arrived or if he went somewhere and bought it. I think it was the former. But we thought, you know what? We're going to order it and not on Amazon. We're going to order it from the BBC shop. But then you go to Amazon here in Canada anyway. It says, oh, it looks like it might ship by February 8th. So I feel like there's maybe some supply issues. It's probably, as I joked, it's probably in a flatbed truck circling the Peace Tower in Ottawa right now, honking their horns at all hours of the day.
Also, I love it when Amazon is vague. I'm like, you're a giant internet intelligence. I'm pretty sure you know. Come on, Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they might know, but their suppliers might not.
Right, fine. Defend Jeff Bezos, fine, Chris.
Yeah. He's your best friend. So I guess I have seen the animated part 3 of the Web of Fear for what it's worth. But I would like, because I'm hosting the animation domination panel at Gallifrey One, which is happening in less than 2 weeks. I know you two cats aren't going, but I'm like starting to panic a little bit. You can understand the panic. The pre-galley panic is still a thing.
Of course.
And I'm doing, that's one of the panels that I'm doing is about Doctor Who animation. So I'd like to ask Martin Garrity, Rob Ritchie, and Gary Russell, none of whom were involved in the Web of Fear animation, what the future of the animation would be.
Speak for someone else, please.
Gary's been involved with enough animation, whether it's reconstituting missing episodes or Dreamland or whatever. That obviously he'll have a lot to say about that.
Oh, he will. Yeah, I bet you none of them like the Web of Fear animation, but despite it being blocky, I like the way it's presented. I know I've said that before in this podcast.
Nothing is worse than Dreamland for animation.
So it was weird. 2007 was a weird time, you know. That was another spin-off when you think about it, you know, with the
just like the Infinite Quest. Yeah,
Infinite Quest, Torchwood.
Never watched the Infinite Quest.
You never did? Oh, really?
I have a problem with animation. I don't know why. For Star Trek, no problem whatsoever. I have no idea
I don't
why.
understand.
I'm trying to get in the Clone Wars, and thank you, friend of the show, Riley Silverman, for sending me the chronological order. I have no idea why George Lucas is crazy and decided, it should all be out of order for no particularly good reason. But now I'm watching it in order, so I'm like, this show actually kind of makes sense now instead of being a jumbled pile of nonsense. Very good. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I mean, in order to understand half the characters that show up in the new Star Wars series, you pretty much have to...
Well, there's that too. But also, this is fundamentally a dodge from watching Voyager because I finished DS9. I'm like, oh no, Voyager, you're over there. You stand in the corner for now. I'll come back to you. But at first, some Star Wars nonsense.
Warren, I have to say, I hope you don't mind me saying this on air, but you actually admitting to me that Deep Space Nine is far and away the best Star Trek.
Pretty sure I said that on air too.
Did you say it on
Star
air?
Trek.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I did, yes.
I know you said...
If I didn't, I'm saying it now.
You said it to us separately. I can't remember if you said it on
Well,
there.
anyway, it is the best. Much as I love TOS, it's like, okay, Star Wars is my favorite movie. Lawrence of Arabia is the best movie ever made, and also my favorite movie. So, like, Star Wars is not as good. It's still a sentimental favorite because it's the first movie I ever saw in the theater at all, right?
Uh-huh.
But TOS is the first sci-fi I ever saw, really, as a kid that I can remember. But Deep Space Nine is better made. There's no question.
It's such a good show. Such a good show. I laughed at
not so much.
I tell you, like, when you said, okay, let's barrel right out of the Voyage, like, I don't know if I. That's basically
I finished The Caretaker for the first time in 20 years.
Oh man,
or 30 probably, I guess.
It's just like saying, you know what? We just watched Case of Fantasani. Let's. Hey, it's next week. Let's go.
Not quite
let's go with the twin dilemma. Let's do it.
Because Caretaker is not great. There's no question of that. And the end of Deep Space Nine is phenomenal.
It is.
But it's not quite Kaiser Rajazani Twin Dilemma. The contrast isn't quite that bad.
Oh.
I don't think I've seen The Caretaker since the 90s, but the Borg series finale I've definitely watched a few times since it aired.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a year or two. Like these are pop in, pop out type deals. So was Deep Space Nine. It took me 2 years to watch. So
Voyager was probably my most disappointing Star Trek. It was just God. It could have been so much better. I know there's some Voyager offenders and fans out there, but oh man, I was just so
and that's fair because some people grew up with it just like I grew up with TOS, right? So
that's true.
Some people would say the same thing about Enterprise, and I would disagree with them. I enjoyed Enterprise.
People, a whole generation grew up with the prequels and love them because they're good kids movies.
That's true.
Are they good movies? No, but they're good kids movies. Well, Revenge of the Sith is actually kind of cool, but.
Yeah, you teach those kids. You teach those.
You know,
kids.
you're gonna rant and rave probably on this episode about the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. But some 5-year-old kid is watching that with his eyes or her eyes or bug-eyed, like literally agog at how cool all this is.
And for them, it is. Right? So.
Yeah. I had the name of spoilers for I don't know what to call that show anymore. So the Book of Fan Service is what I've been calling it, because that's pretty much
a fan service of fan service, which some people enjoy. Stephen,
I suppose so.
I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying some people do.
Well, let's see what happens with Doctor Who as I rant and rave about every everything being brought back to life with
oh
CG
yeah,
Luke
I guarantee, not guarantee because I have no idea, but I would not be surprised. Let's put it that way. If all of this nonsense comes knocking on the door of Doctor Who at some point.
Yeah, we're just like, guess what? Alpha Centauri gets their own show.
Alpha Centauri. Well, okay, Alpha Centauri showing up, even though it's like a blip, and we all went, "Oh boy, Alpha Centauri." Is that any different, really?
Nope. But it's a Mark Gatiss. It's a Mark Gatiss. I feel Mark Gatiss is probably the one.
You can't.
Like,
so what? It's a Dave Filoni thing. What's the difference?
I know. If Mark Gatiss was producing the animated spin-offs for
you are
years.
What is this? Are you a lawyer? Because this is some serious continuity lawyering you're doing here.
Oh no!
Just admit it. They're both the same thing.
They are the same thing. I'm worried about the nostalgia fest because I was talking with Erica, as I often do because we're a married couple and we live together. About how. Like I stumbled on a Japanese band called the Sadistic Mika Band from 1975 on the Old Grey Whistle test, and I just thought, like, here's a band I've never heard before, and it's 1975, and it's awesome. And like, and I was thinking how my favorite genre of music is new wave, but neither of these things I grew up with. Like, I've discovered them after I grew up, essentially. Like, so none of my music choices are based in nostalgia. They're all like stuff that I came to long after they were actually a thing. And so but I feel like Star Wars is really steeped in nostalgia right now. And like, and if for me, if it was Doctor Who nostalgia, like it would be like nonstop Key to Time references or something like that. Like literally every single character in the Key to Time would have a spin-off series right now, but it's not.
Okay, but here's the problem. Here's the problem with Star Wars. Problem with you and Star Wars. It's not just that it's nostalgia, it's that it's not your nostalgia. Like all this Clone Wars stuff is aimed at people 20 years younger than us. So that's probably another reason why it bugs you, because like it's nostalgia and I don't get it. This is crap. And I get where you're coming from, because half of it I don't get either, but I just go, whatever. It's Ahsoka. I think she's got those things on her head, and that's that. Some people love her, and I'm sure they have great reasons, but I don't really know enough about her to say anything one way or the other.
For example, and Stephen, you don't have to watch all of it either. Like I
don't have to watch it at all.
I haven't seen the Clone Wars. I saw the original Clone Wars, the one between episodes 2 and 3, but I never saw what most people refer to now as for watching when they say whatever. I haven't seen the second Clone Wars, so like Bad Batch, I did not watch because I have zero favorite.
And I watched all of it,
and
it was fine. Like you didn't really need. I mean, maybe you did, but I didn't find. I found it perfectly enjoyable without knowing 90% of any of the stuff they were referring to. Like, just the stuff within the episode itself, I got. Yeah,
it's often cases when like you can, even if you haven't like watched a thing that they're referencing. For some reason, Warren, and bear with me on this, I was instantly brought back to Star Trek Into Darkness. Probably, in a census, I think, with our movie opinions combined, probably our least favorite movie of all time. And I just remember when Benedict Cumberbatch introduces himself and he's like, "What's your full name?" It's Sunian. God, like he says it. When the way he says it is it should just be, I'm Sunian Khan. But because he's speaking with the weight of a billion Star Trek fans and the nostalgia that it creates, he says it so dramatically that it's like you're supposed to know who this is when he says it.
Of course it is.
Kind of like in the Mandalorian episode last year when like Ahsoka sort of says, "Who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for Thrawn," as if like, "Oh my God, everyone should know who this is." And like, I have no idea who she's talking about, and I just like checked right out.
I do from the books, but that's
exactly like reading the Heir to the Empire stuff,
which you shouldn't have to do. You're right,
Steve.
You
that should not be required.
Yeah,
but by the same token, you're going to get more out of it if you do, which is fine. But I mean, like Star Wars has a lot of stuff to draw on, hence Ahsoka and Thrawn and whoever. Bad Batch, like all this stuff coming out of the woodwork, and that's fine. Like
Star Wars has always been the mayor of Retcon Town, going back to Lucas screwing around with his own nonsense in the '90s. Greedo shooting first. Like you can blame the guy who originally came up with this thing for starting all this crap.
Yep. 100%. HUNNERD. 100%.
And the thing is, I don't care. Like I'm still gonna watch it. I'm still gonna enjoy it for what it is. Fun. Yeah. It's popcorn. That's all it is. Like it's Star Wars does not have the holy place in the firmament that it did for me when I was say 20. Now it's just some show I watch. Okay, fine, whatever.
I know. But to tie this in with Doctor Who, because we're all just sort of like assuming and anticipating that Doctor Who is now going to become like basically another one of these multi IP
monsters. Yeah.
With Russell T Davies, and especially with David Tennant probably being the 14th Doctor, and maybe Catherine Tatum, maybe Ace, maybe everyone's coming back.
Yeah, current indicators are leaning in that direction.
And so like at one, I'm conflicted, is what I'm saying, because on one side I'm thinking, yes, I don't want this to have to be something that airs before Strictly Come Dancing and after Country File. I just sort of like being shoehorned in there, and people complaining that it's not getting ratings anymore when it still is. So I'm excited for the potential of it actually moving somewhere where it could be enjoyed by more people at the same time and at their own, the way TV is basically showed now. But unfortunately, it seems that in order to sort of like, maintain a presence in that sort of streaming universe, it seems you have to be having some content all the time. Like Star Trek is going to have 52 weeks a year of different Star Trek shows.
That's also to do with what else has Paramount got. right?
Nothing.
That's it.
I know.
It's like MGM and James Bond. That's it. That's pretty much all
I
they
know,
got.
but I bet you probably Sony and Bad Wolf are going, you know what? Well, you know, we it's silly for us to think that we can have Doctor Who be an ongoing entity when we're airing like 6 episodes every 2 years.
Well, they're not wrong about that.
No,
honestly.
and so what I'm simultaneously excited, but also worried about how much.
I think the word you're looking for is unpleasable.
Unpleasable is what I'm worried about is how much, in order to sort of maintain a presence with Doctor Who when the main flagship show isn't being aired, how much of that will be more on nostalgia.
I mean, who knows? Like the main show is arguably Discovery, and I like Lower Decks a lot more. So it's not all bad.
I think a lot of people like other stuff other than Discovery.
Well, okay, like sure, but I'm just saying that is theoretically the flagship show.
Yeah.
And the tertiary stuff is stuff I'm enjoying more than that. So
I've watched the entirety of Prodigy, and I still don't give a crap about it.
I watched all of it, and it was fine. It's it's aimed at kids, and it's enjoyable enough.
There's too much Voyager stuff. For Doctor Who, though, like for nostalgia stuff, like there were enough detractors out there for Flux saying, "Well, if you haven't seen it from the start, you're not going to understand why you're going to want to watch it," and blah blah blah. Right. That's a 6-episode run in consecutive weeks. Not that I'm saying they're right, because they're not. But
also,
what are these same people going to say about Doctor Who if they bring back if they start doing 15-year-old references and callbacks and all that kind of stuff?
Right.
That's why this Ace stuff and all the rest of it seems ridiculous, because it's just aimed at a very specific and aging part of the demographic, which is not the main demographic anymore. Like it's us,
but it has not been for ages.
Yeah.
No, New Who was watched by a whole new audience, and that's the audience, if anybody, they're going to pander to, not us.
This Ace stuff Warren is referring to is that the Plymouth Herald is swinging for the fences now and just saying that now Sophie Aldred's coming back too. So I have no idea about that. This is what Warren is. This is some backroom chatter making its way out of the podcast.
Sorry,
is what I'm
but
saying.
That's okay. But having said that, this kind of stuff always happens, where these overcomplicated rumors that don't make any sense unless you've been basting in Gallifrey Base for 5 days, and even then they don't make any sense, become writ when somebody gets a hold of them, like the Plymouth Herald. It's like, well, because of this giant flow chart that takes up a room, this is why this companion's coming back. That flow chart is why nothing like that will ever happen. Because nobody wants to figure that out.
And when it doesn't happen, people get angry.
Yeah, because this idiotic theory, and Stephen Moffat put it better than I could. He said people come up with these crazy ideas in their head, then get mad when they don't happen. Well, it's an idea in your head. Go write it yourself, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see where Doctor Who goes. If it doesn't go full on multi-IP
Spider-Man
universe.
in the TARDIS, guarantee it, 2026.
Possible, because
what else does Sony own? Right. I think that's pretty much it.
K9 needs a new series that didn't suck. So I mean,
K9 and Venom, a match made in heaven.
Yeah. And for some reason, set on Tatooine. I have no idea why.
Because everything is.
Everything is. You find the dead center of the universe, and what planet is the farthest from? It's Tatooine, except when it happens after Return of the Jedi, because everything's set there.
It's kind of like Smallville. Like, other than Superman being not born, but found there. Right. What else has that place got going for it? Nothing. But there's an entire 10 or so series season about it, or more, that I'm not aware of and don't care about, so don't tell me.
I don't watch any of those comic book shows. Don't watch them at all. Gallifrey One, as I said, is coming in a couple weeks' time. I will be there. Warren and Chris will not, but there'll still be a Ready for Skaro live show. It will be without Derek Martin. Derek Martin has had to cancel. He was, of course, one of the Havoc members back in the late 60s, early 70s. Which means our live show, I will continue to say our live show, because this is the Radio Free Skaro live show, even though Warren and Chris won't be there, and I won't miss you too.
Just think of the idiotic rants like the previous one, that you will be deprived, audience, deprived.
When have we ever rant? We've never done it on stage.
No, of course we haven't.
Not on stage, no.
Backstage to the first guest. What else are you annoyed by, Colin Baker? Before we go on and introduce Colin Baker.
You specifically now.
Also, the Masquerade has been canceled for this year because not as many people signed up for it. Only 2 people signed up, so they're doing what's called a costume showcase is what's happening. So basically, everyone's meeting outside at Saturday at 6 p.m. outside of the main hall, essentially.
I mean, that's a COVID-friendly alternative, right? So why not?
Absolutely. So, but yeah, the live show will continue, though, with Sylvester McCoy, Matt Strevens, John Davey, Jonathan Watson, and Stephen Gallagher, all on Friday morning at about 11-ish to 12:30.
What a sausage fest.
Well, not where I thought you were going with that, but here we are.
I know. Well, because we did have other guests, but they had to all cancel. So, because we were going to have Bonnie Langford on the show, but
that would have been cool. I'm sad about that.
Yeah, me too. But
as much as anything, because she doesn't really do conventions. And what was her last galley, like 2001 or something?
2001 or something.
Yeah, so she'd have plenty to say, I'm sure.
I know.
And in the time since Doctor Who, she's so much stuff that.
That too. So I was looking forward to that, but I'm still looking forward to it anyway. But it'll be fun. I'm looking forward. I mean, as is always the case. No offense to the headlining guest, which is most often a doctor on our show, but it's often that second segment where Sean Lyons says, "Here, we'll give you a producer or a writer or a legendary writer like Terrence Dix or Philip Hinchcliffe or something like that." And so I'm really looking forward to talking to Matt Strevens because of Flux and everything else and.
He's had his fingers in a lot of pies as well.
Yeah.
So you were talking before we started recording about having recently watched An Adventure in Space and Time.
Because I'm doing the live commentary. Yep.
Yeah. So
later that day.
He produced that long before he worked with Chibnall on Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who.
That's where I knew him from. That's where I initially knew him from. Like, who produced this piece of utter gold? And it was. And I watched it on my birthday while building my Lego set. And yep, still hits me. I
Crying on your birthday. It is a pandemic.
I might have to watch that 3 or 4 times just to sort of deaden the emotions that it brings up, lest I start. This really makes me cry, Matt Strevens, on the live commentary.
Either that or just
why are you punching yourself in the face? No reason.
Yeah,
use them as your outlet, as your whatever.
Possibly, yeah. But I mean, the Matt Smith thing got me at the time, like just completely floored me. But like the time that got me this time was when David Bradley's William Hartnell, who's brilliant, and then and then he has his meeting where says, let's probably agree that we go, and then he goes and tells his wife later, it's agreed that we probably leave, and then she leaves the room, and he sort of just breaks down and starts crying. I don't want to go.
Both those bits are a complete ass kicker.
Oh, jeez, it's so good. So. I'm looking forward
but especially the Matt Smith part. I remember the first time I watched it in this very room in a tiny little closet. I was watching it and just blubbing like a baby.
I know. So I'm looking forward to that. Cornell Collective as well on the Friday night, and then the live commentary of War of the Sontarans with Jonathan Watson on the Saturday morning. Then a Doctor Who animation panel, Jamon on the Saturday, and then Remembering Elizabeth Sladen on the Sunday. So I got a busy weekend ahead of me. Which is fine. It's fine to keep busy at these places as I sort of, reemerge into society from behind a KN95 mask. But it should all be very fun. Very fun indeed. Tickets, if you're listening to this on the exact minute that it drops, tickets are still on sale. If you want to.
But not for much longer.
No, February 6th is the last day. So.
Yeah.
Yepers. Right. So let's speaking of nostalgia and everything else. It's history. It's not nostalgia. It's history. Let's take a look.
Sure.
Look back in the history of Doctor Who in the Timelash, our weekly segment where we look back at what aired this week in Doctor Who history and then comment about it, even if we already commented on it last week.
Which we almost certainly did.
Probably did. Because there's different episodes, you see. I don't know. There's a bunch of episodes too that aired on the 6th and 7th. Did we already talk about some of these? We already talked about the Romans. We already done that. I don't know if we did. Yeah,
probably. Yeah. Mind of Evil. We didn't really talk about last week, did we?
No, I like Mind of Evil.
Mind of Evil. I love the Mind of Evil.
Part 2. The one with my favorite thing, which is the agent hiding in front of the camera and in front of everything else, and basically not being discovered anyway.
Pretty much. Part 2 aired on February 6th, 1971. For what it's worth, it's funny. Verity covered episode 1 of This Is Up, Aisling B's series that she's in as a thing. I think is it already out? I don't know. I know
two series are out. Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about the Verity episode.
Oh, the episode. That I don't know.
But in that episode, is Peck Lin Sem, who played Chin Li in The Mind of Evil. So like 50 odd years, and she's still acting, which is great.
Wow. Well, she was in some of the. Was it just the Blu-ray vamp for second one?
Oh, I've only watched that once.
Wasn't she at whatchamacallit, Castle?
Dover Castle.
Dover Castle. I'm trying to think of when that was shot. If it was like new for the Blu-ray, if it came out from the DVD back in the day or not. But I can't remember. But I remember her being in the van to some extent, because she was the wife of the.
Yeah, she was the wife of Don Houghton, the writer.
Don Houghton, the writer.
Yeah,
I was going to say director, but no, I knew that wasn't right.
Yeah, but also an actor in her own right too. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was handy, but yeah, she was in that.
To jump forward a couple of days.
Let's do it.
Edge of Destruction, episode 1, Inside the Spaceship.
Inside the Spaceship,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
what a great title, Inside the Spaceship. But what's it about?
That's more or less a writing a temp title, wasn't it? Like basically a working title.
Yeah, it feels like hell, I'll figure this out later. Oh, yeah. I guess I didn't.
But I mean, like it's kind of weird to see, like, for the third story, Doctor Who doing a bottle episode, because Doctor Who doesn't really do bottle episodes.
No,
Midnight's a great bottle episode.
The genre, the style kind of works against doing bottle episodes, but there they are. They had a 13 episode run, 11 episodes were spoken for, so here's this 2 episode oddity that I adore.
I know. I like that. Like, even at the time, the cast didn't know why it was being made. They've always just sort of assumed that it's because the sets weren't ready for Marco Polo, and so we had to do this quick two episode thing. No, it's because he might have been canceled, and they wanted to finish for contractual obligation album, and this was it. That's pretty much the only reason why they made it, or at least why they planned for it. By the time they came to shoot it, Doctor Who's future was already assured. Donald Baverstock says, you know what? I was going to cancel you outright. But then I saw episode 1 of the Daleks, and I thought, this can run for at least 60 more years. That's a quote from him.
Uh-huh. But, then same day on the 8th, a few years later.
Yeah.
20 years later, Resurrection of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Our first 45-minute episode of Doctor Who.
Yes, because I hope you're enjoying the Olympics, anyone who's watching the Olympics, because it's happening in the middle of the night for us in China. But it was happening in 1984 in Sarajevo, and in order to maximize the coverage of the Olympics, they cobbled together the first 2 parts into one of Resurrection, and then, of course, the last 2 into part 2. So it was already planned that they were going to do that for the next year, season 22. But this was sort of seen as a bit of a test run. So yeah.
The introduction of Lytton. Yes, indeed, Lytton.
Yeah. Oh my God, I loved this story so much.
The very first violent Doctor Who story, right?
It is so violent. I watched Pip Madeley tweeted out.
Is it the first one? I don't know about that, but
it's not.
No, it's not. But Pip Madeley tweeted out a funny video, 30 great cliffhangers from Resurrection of the Daleks this week, possibly in honor of its the anniversary of its first broadcast. And like I haven't watched it in a few years, but I used to watch it a lot because it was like, growing up on Star Wars, it was like there's gun battles, there's death. This is Doctor Who, man.
And there's it feels like there's, even though there really isn't, it feels like there's real stakes because of all the, this is technically the beginning of the Time War. They were going to go to Gallifrey and assassinate the High Council and blah, blah, blah. And the Daleks storming a spaceship, even though it looks like crap, and all the crew seem to be like lackadaisical bums. It's still cool.
It's still but it does stand out. Like there's that, like they smoke in the space station. Like there's no people don't smoke in Doctor Who.
It kind of feels like they've invaded Red Dwarf somehow, except it's not funny.
Oh yeah, and then like the poor guy gets killed by the gas. Red Dwarf. Yeah, there's just a lot of and the cops.
The gas thing still doesn't make any sense to me. Like it just out of nowhere, and you're like, what just happened? Why?
I know.
Why is he got cauliflower face? What the hell's happening?
Poor guy gets killed with gas. Those policemen sort of like, we're gonna shoot you, Tegan. No, we're gonna shoot that random guy with his metal detector and kill him instead for no reason.
And then take off with our cheap ass beaming. Basically.
It's a pretty grim story, Resurrection.
Yeah, but that's what I liked about it, though.
I know.
And then we walked around that actual area like 2015, and it was pretty highfalutin.
It was highfalutin, but the pathways are still there. I think we did chase some people out of a shop just to recreate the first scenes of that.
I got some gunk on my shoe, so I just called it Dalek guts and kept it there.
It was weird gunk. It was weird gunk. That's right.
It was.
I remember that. Did you ever make it down there, Chris, when you lived in London?
Butler's
the area that we're
Wharf?
talking
Oh,
about?
hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Everyone has to do the pilgrimage, the resurrection of the Daleks, location pilgrimage. You haven't visited London unless you've done that. I don't care about the London Eye.
It's hardly out of the way as well. It's like just what, east of the Tower Bridge on the south side of the Thames, so, or thereabouts. So, yeah, it's easy enough to get to.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. But Can You Hear Me? Can You Hear Me aired 2 years ago on February 9th. It's really depressing looking at the 2020 series of Doctor Who inching up to its, its conclusion and thus the beginning of the pandemic for us here in North America, which is
I don't know what it says about either me or the series, but I cannot for the life of me remember what Can You Hear Me was about.
It had the two.
Is that the frog one?
No, that's what's the frog one?
It's the one where everybody's depressed. Yes, okay, right?
Yeah, so
No?
They're in Syria at first, and then
Yes.
it's got that cool animation, which is still awesome.
Yes, okay, that one's. So I'm thinking of a different one. But the depression one is quite good, by the way. I'm not deriding it.
No.
But yeah, okay, now I remember. And actually, that animation is really cool.
Oh, I just love that animation, yeah. But I don't know if I've seen this since we probably did a commentary for it whenever that was.
I definitely
in 2020.
I can't remember what it was.
Nope.
Yep, the most recent stuff is the most the ones that do not exist in our minds.
Well, we've had the least amount of time to absorb them in the way we've had, like, Moonbase episode 1 on January or February 11th. I dig the Moonbase. I remember reading the book and really liking it, and I think Kat has declared that her favorite Cyberman story.
Whoa, really? Wow.
We had Jamie being completely underused because he wasn't supposed to be there.
And nope. The Phantom Piper. Oh no! Don't take me, the Phantom Piper. Okay. That's my Jamie impression from that. I want to put out the Web of Fear, 1968, February 10th, because I was watching a documentary on the Crow. I was watching the second time round, which is the documentary about the whole Troughton era that was on the Crotons box set. It was a documentary put together by Ed Stradley. And Rob, when did that come out? Like 2011, 2012 or something like that? And 2011. It was definitely 2011 because Rob Shearman's on there and he goes, and I watch The Web of Fear Part 1 and then I cry because I'll never see the rest of it. 2 years later, saw the rest of it. Apart from episode 3, of course, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere. So there. Anything else that happened this week in Doctor Who? There's some other stuff there. Any of that float your boat?
Invasion of Time 2.
Oh yeah, the Invasion of Time 2.
Was that the introduction of the room, the president's room with all the cool gears? Because that is a cool room.
We have this problem a lot. We have this problem on the show because
I haven't watched the omnibus versions.
Exactly. Yeah, I have no idea.
We grew up with the omnibus.
It's like Resurrection of the Daleks. It's like, oh wow, there's this weird stuff where the BBC broadcasted this 2 45-minute chunks and it also exists as 4 25-minute chunks, and okay, I saw it as a single chunk. So none of this other stuff means anything.
It's a big mess in my head, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind,
I can't stand the confusion in my mind.
In my head, I see Invasion of Time like the Doctor is basically playing for time for like the entire duration of it. Except he's not. I think he probably asks for the walls, the floors, the doors, everywhere, lead.
Yes.
I think it's probably episode 2. Yeah.
And that's the best Barusa, frankly, or Barasa.
Barusa.
Bleep that out, thank you. However you say his name.
Yeah.
Barusa.
About that.
You said it right the first time, Warren. You second guessed
and then
yourself,
swore. Way to go, me.
Well done. I like that.
Anyway, best one of that character.
Warren, you would be a bad actor in 1960s Doctor Who because you would make a mistake and then repeatedly refer to the fact that you just made a mistake, and thus
did Billy Hartnell do that? I'm in good company.
He just kept going.
Are you saying, Stephen, that he would be a Broderdack?
He would, Chris.
I feel honored by this naming.
This comparison. I like his coat. That's all I know.
I like his coat.
That's all I know. Well, then let's close up the Timelash for another week. We can talk about other stories perhaps next week. when we do this silly thing that we do. Next week is, of course, our Gallifrey One preview edition. So, but we'll still have the Timelash because that's what we do every week. Anyway, Doctor Who Magazine, issue 574 just came out this week with a whole bunch of stuff, as I already referred to at the very beginning of this podcast. But please don't believe me. Believe Emily Cook when I talk to her about it right now.
Doctor Who Magazine Preview with Emily Cook.
I'm joined once again on the eve of Gallifrey One, my heavens, to talk about Doctor Who Magazine, issue 574 with Emily Cook. Hello, Emily.
Hello, good evening.
It's evening for you.
It's evening for me. You could be listening to this at any time. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever. Let's not be linear about time.
Right. You can listen to podcasts whenever. We record this at one, but we're recording this on a Thursday and it's coming on a Sunday. So really even that is completely doesn't make sense. So this is an interesting issue of Doctor Who Magazine because I was looking through here. Yeah. And there are two things that we've actually covered on this podcast in recent months. There's a thing about a director who I really adore. There's a talk with another person. We're going to get to all this. Who we've actually known about several years before his identity was revealed. And then there's an interview with Matt Strevens, which I want to talk to you about now. But first off, this is a weird position for you because you are part of the feature, but not on the other side of the notepad. You are actually being talked to about being producer of Mind at the Hodiak.
Yeah, it's a weird one to see myself in Doctor Who magazine. I'm normally behind the pages, not in the pages. And it's a weird one because I've sort of got a foot in both camps with Doctor Who magazine and Big Finish. So it was quite straightforward to arrange in a way because of contacts in both parties, and managed to coordinate getting everyone together. But of course, I couldn't really interview myself very easily. No. So we let Paul Kirkley do that. But we had a lovely time with Russell and Colin and Bonnie and Scott Hancock, the co-writer and director of Mind of the Hodiak. And yeah, I hope people enjoy finding out a little bit more about the story, how it came together. And are excited to hear it in March.
I was going to ask when it came out, and it's in March. That's
the
excellent.
exact date I don't know, but it's March sometime.
They usually drop the date like a day before. They basically sort of like, is it ready? Okay, it's March. Yeah, let's go.
Basically, yes.
Yeah,
but sometime in March.
And that was a story that basically, I suppose we have the pandemic to thank of that, because was that the deal? Was you basically reached out to him to do the watch-alongs, and then he discovered he had a script, and it went from there? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I asked Russell when we had our call but didn't make it into the actual interview was like, what do you think the chances were that it would have been found without the tweet-alongs? Because it could have been found at any time theoretically, but he just said I probably would never have gone in that box. So yeah, very much got the pandemic to thank. There's a silver lining to that cloud. But yeah, we were doing a tweet-along just before Christmas, and Russell found the script, and it was just a really obvious case of, oh my gosh, we have to make this. Big Finish is the perfect place for it. And then the rest is history. I hate that expression, don't know why I said that. But yeah, it's really exciting, and this was obviously all before we knew Russell was coming back. So at one point, Mind of the Hodiak was going to be potentially the only new bit of Russell Doctor Who we were going to get. Obviously that's not true now.
Was it the spark though? Was it the spark? Did Emily Cook actually inspire Russell T Davies to rummage up a Bad Wolf and get Doctor Who back under their aegis? Was that it?
Who knows is all I'll say. There will be, I'm sure, lots of full disclosure from Russell when the time comes. I'll let him tell the story.
Yes. It is first Doctor Who magazine production notes come November 2022, I guess, when he sort of officially becomes the public face, I suppose, once Jodie Whittaker has her last bow.
Yes, I guess so. I'll be reading with great interest.
or interviewing, depending on where you are in the world at that point.
I'll be doing something. I'll either be a reader, or I'll be interviewing, or I'll be in it, or something. But there's always Doctor Who magazine in my life.
Yep. Matt Strevens is a guest on the Radio Free Skaro live show in a couple weeks from now, and I am going to be liberally reading and stealing ideas for questions for him from the first of your 2-part interview with the outgoing executive producer.
Yeah, so that was actually Paul Kirkley as well. I can't claim credit for his brilliant interview. Mm-hmm. I have interviewed Matt Strevens before, but Paul Kirkley was speaking with him, and yeah, it's a really interesting interview. I think they touched on some really interesting things, like they talk about the ratings, which everyone is always very interested in. I don't completely understand why, but I know some fans love it. And just sort of reflecting on what he's done on the show, and what a lot of people have responded to is Sasmin. Mm-hmm. And he talks a little bit about that. So yeah, fans are looking forward to. Well, actually, no, they'll be reading it already now. But when we posted out the cover, we put Sasmin on the cover, and people went a little bit nuts over that in a good way.
Yes, low did people react. That was like official recognition of a hashtag that's been going around pretty much since I think they exchanged Yaz and the Doctor exchanged a look in Arachnids in the UK. I want to believe way back when. So
yeah.
It's been a long time coming. Yeah,
absolutely.
The secret identity to which I referred was Ben Pickles. He was known as John Smith. For many years, making those amazing YouTube videos. But we knew him here at this podcast. Warren knew him because he's in Vancouver, and he was a very up-and-coming special effects person who didn't want his name out there. And then it was Rachel Talalay who kind of became, shepherded him into the world of Doctor Who. And finally, Ben Pickles is featured in Doctor Who magazine.
Ben Pickles is amazing. I'm so glad that he's revealed his identity after all this time, but no, he's wonderful. I'm really glad we've got a feature on him because his contribution to Doctor Who is brilliant, but also the story of how he came to be involved. As you say, Rachel was championing him, and it's just really inspiring to see that a fan who was doing something on a very, I say amateur level, I mean what he was doing was flipping phenomenal. And deservedly got picked up, but just for fans to see that actually your passions and talents can be contributed to the show at some point. It's kind of like a what dreams are made of story. But Ben actually, I worked with Ben on one of the lockdown Doctor Who videos that I produced. We sort of got the whole gang back. It was the one called The Best of Days, and it was written by Stephen Moffat. Rachel Talalay was involved. Ben was doing the visual effects. Murray Gold did the music. We had Pearl Mackie and Matt Lucas. So it was really, really lovely to work with all of those people, but we're particularly focusing on Ben, and he was just incredible. He just VFX'd the most brilliant, amazing black hole pretty much overnight. It was ridiculously brilliant.
It's almost insulting, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
like I can't alter a PDF on my computer, and he could do that.
I know. Well, us mere mortals have to just battle with a baby.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. I look forward to it. This only just dropped in my Doctor Who magazine app, so I've barely had a look at what's been going on. Usually I have a cursory glance of the magazine before we talk, so this is all sort of new to me. What I find fascinating is that we've had Paul Hayes on this podcast around a couple months after his book came out for The Long Game, which tells the story of how Doctor Who came back in 2005, but you have a feature on him.
Yes. Yeah, we do. It's so fascinating to hear about sort of how it all came to be, because we kind of talk about it all the time, and then revival and what have you, but there was stuff that I read that I hadn't read before, and I think it's interesting when it's something that is such a familiar story in a way, to have a bit of a not a new take on it, but just new information and slightly different point of views, and seeing how things came about. So yeah, I think we've got a real mix of features this issue, actually. I mean, we always do. I don't know why I'm saying that like it's a surprising thing. But yeah, I'm just glancing over our press release, and we have Jess Jerkovic as well, who's going to be at Gallifrey One. I'm just thinking of all the Gallifrey One connections.
Is he? Is he really? I wasn't. I know he was. We also had him on. We had him on when he was about halfway through his Dudley Simpson journey.
I think he is. I think he's doing the Quiz of Rassilon, but now I'm doubting it. I'm going to just check right now in real time.
I could ask it. I'll probably figure this out by the time this episode comes out, because I know that I suggested it to him. You know how amazing it would be if there was like a bar or a lounge at Gallifrey One, and there's Jess just on the piano tinkling away at Dudley Simpson music or something in the background, and how wonderful that would be. And I think he DM'd me and asked, what would be the way to go about, proposing a panel or something like that. And that's the last I heard from him. So Jess, if you're coming, I hope you are, because I think you'll have a great time.
Yeah.
But there's an article in Doctor Who Magazine, long story short, about him, about his YouTube project.
Yes, there is. That's why we mentioned him. But I've just checked, and he is down. Well, it says Quiz of Rassilon, which is at Gallifrey One, is featuring him. Whether that is in a virtual sense and he's not there, or he is actually there, we shall have to wait and see.
We shall. Okay. Well, I look forward to it if he's there. And if not, I could just DM. I could just ask him if he's going. I mean, we don't need to beat around the bush. But all this, and then also a tribute to Michael Ferguson, who passed away in October. He's one of my favorite all-time classic Who directors as well. So there's a big article about his work, which I think has been kind of overlooked a little bit. He went on to do The Sandbaggers, which was one of my favorite shows in the late 1970s as well. So well done on doing a big tribute to Michael Ferguson.
Well, it's something that our tribute writers at DWM do incredibly well. I think it's a real skill. And although it's sad when we lose someone, it's always nice to be able to celebrate who they were and what they did.
It is indeed. All that and more in Doctor Who Magazine, issue 574. Emily Cook, we will see you in a couple weeks at Gallifrey One.
Yeah, see you there. Very exciting.
Thank you, Emily. I did laugh when she said she did not see what the big deal was about viewing figures because...
Hello, new friend.
Kindred Spirit, Thara Warren. Haven't had stats in a while on this show, which is too bad, I guess, but not really.
No, that's not too bad at all, actually.
No, I'm okay.
No guessing there.
I'm more than okay with that. I mean, Tom Spilsbury has a column in the magazine, a recurring column, which basically the gist of it is fewer people are watching TV, just as many percentage-wise are still watching Doctor Who, such as it has always been since 2005.
Stats are irrelevant, as I've always claimed.
They kind of are.
Well, I've actually just claimed complete indifference. So
yeah, especially since it's so splintered now. I mean, how many people are actually watching, the most recent episode of the Book of Boba Fett? Like, just how, I wonder if you actually did, an overnight ratings, like, literally, within the first, 24 hours of when it drops, how many people are actually watching
Well, if you go by the only indicator
tiny.
we have, which is people talking about it on social media, quite a few.
Quite a few, but those people are the only, the active ones. Like, are people actually, whatever, sure, I'll watch that, or I'll watch the whole series later on. I mean, it's all...
Again, does it really matter? Like, you're paying your however much it is for Disney a month. It doesn't really matter if you watch that or 5 old Mickey Mouse shorts in the 20s. It really is irrelevant.
That's true.
They're making money either way, the same money either way.
Yep. Doctor Who's the only one beholden by viewing figures.
All the Book of Boba Fett is basically like when you get those crazy showcase cars you'll never actually buy, but they're in the dealership. Oh, no, you couldn't afford this. Go get this Honda, whatever, instead. That's basically what the Book of Boba Fett is.
Yeah. As speaking of someone who's having to test drive cars right now because my current car is very much nearing the end of its life. Yep, I know what you're talking about, Warren.
And that's about the extent of my knowledge of cars.
Yeah. The BFI, remember the BFI? They're hosting a screening for Revelation of the Daleks on March 5th. Tickets are on sale this week, February 10th, if you want to buy them. I don't know who's going to be there. Did we find out who's actually going to be there?
I don't know. Nothing's yet been announced that I've come across yet.
Although maybe it does. Maybe this is Graham Harper, Colin Baker, Nicola Bryant, Eleanor Braun, Terry Malloy. That sounds like a group of people that would actually be there. So, so
Eleanor Braun.
Eleanor Braun?
Eleanor Braun?
Yeah,
Sweet.
and
Revelation of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Eleanor Braun.
Yeah, but most importantly, City of Death.
Yeah,
Excuse me, I have a question about City of Death and only City of Death.
Yes.
More of a comment, really.
When you said exquisite, absolutely exquisite, that was really funny. What was it like working with John Cleese?
Do you agree with his current views on English life?
Yeah. So that's the reason. I mean, it's neat that they have these live screenings. One day, I said to Erica that one day when things are over, or at least better, it would be neat to go to England again, obviously, but also to go to one of these screening events. It's fun to have a thing to hang your hat on as opposed to let's just go to England for whatever reason to find out what's happening. It's fun to go there for a thing, to actually have sort of a thing like that. And so like one of these would be kind of cool. So a future Blu-ray event would be kind of neat because I've never been to one, obviously. So
I don't know that you're going to get as much advance notice as you might want versus other things, but
also there is a small matter of a global pandemic.
Well, I mean, when
After,
it
All
gets
right,
better,
yes.
Warren. I said that.
like we've
Well, there's also the matter of when it ever gets better. Come on,
we've got
that's really hopeful.
We've got a sojourn to Britain booked for mid to late July this year, which I'm very hopeful happens, but I don't know for sure if it will.
Well,
It's way too early to know.
it is too early. But what this means, though, if it's happening on March 5th, it likely means that sometime soon around then is when the season 22 box set will hit the streets in the UK.
Yeah.
Of course, it's coming here in June.
Probably on the 7th. I would, if I was a betting person, I'd say on the 7th. But has it actually been announced or no?
I don't think it has been announced. I have not checked. I have not checked the Amazons or anything like that in the UK. I bet you Chris is probably doing that right now.
Doing that right now. Yeah.
But oftentimes, I mean, they often say, "Hey, it's going to come out this," and then a week before, actually, it's going to be 2 weeks later. So so March-ish is probably what my guess is. You still looking, Chris? I have to vamp a little more.
Yeah. No.
Keep vamping, buddy.
For some
vamping,
reason,
buddy.
there we go. Season 22.
It's exciting. All right.
Thrilling. Let's go back to ranting about Star Wars.
Yeah.
According to Amazon UK, it comes out December 31st, 2030.
That's wrong. That's not right at all. So they don't have
if I was a betting person, I'd say March 7th seems like a reasonable thing. This will be like just before that, and DVDs come out on Mondays in the UK. So
they do.
March, maybe the 14th.
If they don't have a date yet, it's probably late March. Let's face it, it's going to take until late March for this thing to happen.
But stuff like this doesn't happen except as tie-ins to the home video releases.
Exactly. So that's cool. So as I said, tickets on sale February 10th. Links in the show notes at radiofreescaro.com if you want to check those out for yourself.
Good luck getting them. They're always a hot ticket.
Oh, are they? Oh, really? Oh, wow. I'll have to pull some strings then. When the time. First, I have to pull some strings and say, BFI, do you know within like 6 months, I have no strings to pull on this. I'm just saying.
Or a trip to plan for that matter.
Or a trip to plan. That too. Big Finish news. Of course, Big Finish will have a presence at Gallifrey One. We might have Steve Barry on this show to hint at that next week, also on our Gallifrey One preview edition. But Big Finish, Unbound, Doctor of War, Genesis. Doctor of War rewrites history. It's a return of Doctor Who Unbound, in which it postulates...
Formerly David Warner as the Doctor.
Yes. What if the Fourth Doctor did have the right and blew up the Daleks? It's
kind of a cool way to go. Like
it is kind of cool because that's where fans sort of think this is where the Time War sort of started and all that. Well, Colin Baker is now an unexpected incarnation of the War Doctor, the Warrior. So he's in this Time War as the Sixth Doctor, or as a Doctor anyway, in a 3-part series. So that's kind of cool. It's I'm obviously not up in my Big Finish lore, but Doctor Who Unbound was like years ago, right? They did that sort of like
almost 15 years since the last release in the series that David Richardson in the blurb. Yeah.
Goodness me, that's a long time. That pretty much predates the modern series when they started. I think probably is when it happened with
possibly, yeah.
David Warner, and I think Jeffrey Baildon was a Unbound Doctor, and Annabelle Weir I think was an Unbound Doctor, and All sorts.
And the
of
thing
fun
about
stuff.
Unbound, because they did a contest, which I wrote a
Arabella.
thing for and didn't get
Arabella,
anywhere
thank
with.
you.
But anyway, the idea of the David Warner Doctor, anyways, he was kind of like, he was the companion, essentially, to Lisa Bowerman's character, which was interesting.
Fascinating. Well, they got one. April 2022, and then there's a second series as well, Doctor War Destiny. So you can pre-order both of those. BigFinish.com, where they love stories. There's a new book. Chris has been digging in the old Amazon.co.uk for some new books are coming. And there's a new old book, Doctor Who and the Daleks, illustrated edition, a hardcover of which is coming in September of 2022 in the UK. We don't have a cover. We have a page count of 256 pages. We have dimensions of those pages. But given that it's written by David Whittaker, it is the original novelization, Doctor Who, and an exciting adventure with the Daleks, except in a new format. So
Something along that line, yeah. For what little is known about it so far.
Well, we're telling you about it first, right here, right now, and ready for your Skaro. And last, in the news before the commentary kicks off, there is the third B&M Big Chief Studios Dalek Assault mini bauble set. Third, because we didn't know that there was the first two. We missed them. But they're little mini Daleks. They're kind of fun. They're kind of like those little Louis Marx Daleks in a way from the 60s, except more screen accurate. And but they're
As the
fun.
package says, they have bubble action.
I don't know what that means. They're Daleks, like bobble heads.
Their heads bubble. That's probably what it is. Like,
Do they
maybe
go?
like their
or
little,
the
their little
bodies
lids
do.
bubble.
I don't know.
But it catches my eye that the eye stalks and the suckers, whatever, are very, very overemphasized.
Yeah,
Shall we say?
comic.
They're large compared to the body.
Bubble.
Yeah, they're kind of like those Time Squad. Time Squad. There's those little action figures that were like 10 years ago or something like that. That I have a couple of with Dave Tennant and P. Cap, and they came out. They're kind of like more comic in a way. So maybe those are the things of bobble. I don't know. I haven't seen them in action. Maybe you can if you pop on by to a B&M store to pick these up. The third of which, there was a second one in late December that came out that we totally missed that had 6 of them. The Daleks of Skaro mini bobble figurine multi-pack. So, and we don't know what the first one was. Lost in the midst of time. But
Missing episode in Dalek toy form.
quite possibly. So you can check them out. Check them out in the UK, everyone. We give you the UK news that we can't actually partake in ourselves. BFI screenings and Dalek in stores. Doesn't happen.
In a way, that's good, because if we actually had access
We'd be bankrupt.
to some of these merchandise bits, bankrupt is a
Captain
good
Dolly
word.
Pants here would definitely be bankrupt.
Yeah. That's true. Anyway, speaking of Daleks, hey, let's do a commentary. After the break, it's part 4 of a classic series commentary for Remembrance of the Daleks.
Are the microphones wired in?
All round the condenser, most merciful. We're looking forward to excellent duodecaphonic sound.
This is the moment when I get a real feeling of job satisfaction.
Welcome, everyone. It's part 4 of Remembrance of the Daleks in our Doctor Who Classic Series commentary. Hope you've paused the... I don't think we mentioned a tape format, U-matic cassettes, just out of
Very
for
nice,
fun.
very nice.
As we call it, 3/4 inch tape back in the day of your copy of Remembrance of the Daleks, no matter where it came from.
or possibly either their CLV or CAV copy. of the-
That's true.
Or
Off
their
your lazy-
HDV camcorder tapes.
Yeah, your lazy D, the HDV. Yeah, I've got a few formats kicking around here, but I have no players for them. Anyway, I do have Remembrance of the Daleks. It's queued up. It's ready to go. It's part 4. Hope you've got it queued up too, because here we go, everyone. Remembrance of the Daleks, part 4 in 3, 2, 1, play. And we're off. This the Olympics. Oddly enough, the Olympics curtailed a Dalek story a previous time because, of course, Resurrection was re-edited into 2 50-minute episodes to accommodate for the winter ones in
Soul Olympics
'84.
You're going to bring up?
Yeah, the Soul Olympics was late. It's actually it was a Summer Olympics, but it occurred in like September as opposed to like July or August, because I guess it gets pretty hot in July and August in Seoul, Korea. Site of the famous Ben Johnson drug fiasco.
9.79.
Yeah.
Our national shame.
But yes, it's a good thing that literally every single racer also ran that race pretty much was on drugs too. No, but so instead of debuting in September as they wanted to with this, it went into October and they had to rejigger everything around. And so, because originally the season was supposed to end on Silver Nemesis, gross, but they had to make that third because they needed to go out on November 23rd, 1988, you see. Mm-hmm. So, which led to
why wouldn't she? I mean, you have
I know,
you have to.
I know. Which led Greatest Show in the Galaxy Part 4 to actually air into 1989. That's a full-size ship right there, as we mentioned in the previous commentary. Like, that's impressive. I'm not even sure you'd do that now. I'm not sure you would load a full-size.
I'm sure you wouldn't.
Yeah, like
Nowadays,
you build.
I'm sure it'd be a CG or like they
Yeah.
do the
Here's
TARDIS
the
with
thing.
like a
You
map.
will get a behind-the-scenes thing where some
Although,
director
I wanna point
claims
out-
that okay, go ahead.
I want to point out that is a wipe. There were only 3 Daleks in there, and that was a wipe to another shot of another Dalek coming out. I watched that on the Terry Nation Army thing, which you wouldn't have noticed until I pointed it out for you. Anyway, sorry, Warren, you were saying.
Oh, I was just going to say, I can't remember the name of the guy. The guy who directed Tenet and the Dark Knight movies and all that, for whatever reason, his
Christopher
name
Nolan?
escapes me. Thank you, Christopher
Nolan.
Nolan. Is the kind of guy who would claim that he did use nothing but the full-size models, blah, 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 and then just kind of wipe aside all the CG that's obviously in those movies. Just like everybody watches Mad Max Fury Road, a fantastic movie.
Yep.
And the director has never denied there's a ton of CG in it, because there is a ton of CG, and it's just executed extraordinarily well. But I'll bet people are like, see, this is what happens when there's no more CG, it's all analog. And it's like, no, there's a lot that isn't analog in that movie, guys. Come on.
Yep. I watched a shot, it might have been like literally Call the Midwife. It was a shot... It's some other period drama. It might have been called The Midwife. Might have been something else. There is a child walking down the road, and a van comes around the corner and kind of gets a little too close, and like the child goes, "Whoa, hey, you nearly ran me over," and stuff. Those are 2 separate shots. They shot the kid, got out of the way on an empty road, and then they had the shot with the truck coming down that same road, and they merged them together. You know,
there's a ton of invisible effects. Like the stuff that was in Forrest Gump, basically, which is kind of the first movie or one of the first to do that, to have a lot of, besides the showcase stuff, there's a lot of invisible stuff in the background. And now that just kind of became the basis of television. Like, that's why TV looks as cinematic as it does, is mostly because like every show has got people on, tons of set extensions. Like I remember, and this is a decade ago, at least, Ugly Betty. Yeah. That show was pretty much all green screen when I was outside. It wasn't in New York, but it sure as hell looked like it was.
Well, I don't know if it looked like it, but anyway.
But the point is, they were actually able to pull it off on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago.
A little less obvious than something like Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Yes.
Your favorite, I don't know, for some reason, that's the Chris's favorite.
I mean, yes,
movie.
it is a pioneering use of said technology, but now
that's the
what
one
they
movie
did,
he goes back to.
And to be fair, what they did is used in practically everything. Like a show like Billions, which is about a bunch of finance dudes.
I love Bill. A great show.
Tons of hidden effects there.
Is that Paul Giamatti? Is that one? Is that the one I'm thinking?
Yeah,
it's a good show.
Damian Lewis.
It's stuff like just cleaning up a driveway, or like somebody left a light on. Stuff
I
like
know.
that.
We're watching this special weapons Dalek. Obliterate.
Yes.
I still can't believe they brought it back for the new series. That was so awesome.
I know, in Asylum, wasn't he? Yeah, he was in there.
And
he's
was in Witches Familiar or whatever as well.
That's the one. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
It was in Asylum. Yeah.
And he's just kind of hanging.
Every Dalek
there.
was in Asylum.
Yeah. I think they remade it though, didn't they? Did they make it, or I don't know if the original prop existed. I don't remember either.
I'd have to look it up.
Listen, folks, we have to look up which Dalek props were used, but if you want to know about laser disc editing technology, this is
and you don't.
That is
also,
tipping.
Here's
not
more.
Sylvester McCoy. Apparently, Sylvester McCoy did shoot a version of him sliding across though himself, but they actually used a tipping version.
I always like that we just dumped that door in there.
I know.
Also, here's some fiber optics.
Yeah, fiber optics are the thing. They were the big thing in Time of the Ronnie, and they're the big thing here. And
in Ben Aronovich's novelization of Remembrance, it is stated that the enormous power source required for the Special Weapons Dalek gun resulted in the release of high levels of radiation which altered the structure of the Dalek creature's brain, causing insanity.
That's something.
More insanity.
Yeah.
Consequently, the other Daleks shun it, ironically for being a mutant, naming it the Abomination.
That's that Spider-Man guy, isn't it?
No.
Isn't it? Isn't there something called...
Here's my Dalek continuity question. Why are the new Paradigm Daleks hanging around an asylum of the Daleks when they clearly are having another civil war with their big-bootied brethren?
Are they having a civil war, or are they just sort of like at odds? Like,
the other Daleks were too impure and offered up their own sacrifice. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a civil war as such.
Which happened again with Revolution of the Daleks, or I guess the next one, Resolution of the Daleks.
I swear that McCoy almost looks at the camera right there when he's struggling to get that plunger on. They gamely put this back on. I do like the slightly augmented plungers that they use for this.
Yes.
I was going to say the greatest greatest trick the devil ever pulled was taking these plungers seriously, which they're all doing.
That plunger is made in Skokie, Illinois.
Here is Karen Gledhill does like a jump, which feels like a remarkable stunt. Like, look at how, like, just jump.
Yeah, that looked way further than maybe
like,
it is.
That looks really dangerous. I wouldn't have done that. I would have climbed down.
To quote Meglos, I like that coat. I don't think I could pull it off, but I like the coat.
No. What, who? Dursley McClendon's coat here?
Yeah. No, the Daleks.
Oh, the Daleks.
The Daleks make coat.
Sheepskin coat here, whatever that is. You got it, mate. All this slang talk in my Doctor Who. What happened to proper Queen's English here, for crying out loud?
Yeah, we'll have no happy slappy slappy hoodies with Asmos and rings.
Yeah, I know. Jeez, next thing you know, they'll be kissing in the TARDIS now. Jeez.
Not on my watch. No hanky panky.
And man-on-man kissing in the TARDIS.
No, I just can't abide any of this.
And I was going to say, Heather and Bill is the first lady-on-lady kissing in the TARDIS?
In the TARDIS? I don't know. I haven't chronicled these events.
I mean, I hadn't thought of it till now either. But
were they in the TARDIS, or were they?
Well, they're at the door, so technically they're in the TARDIS.
I guess so.
Or were they just outside? I mean, close enough for jazz, I'd say. But.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on what fanfic you choose to read there, Warren. I'm sure,
oh well, yeah.
I'm sure Susan and Barbara kicked off that.
Yeah, that's his long trod ground. I'm sure, far before the pilot, or not the pilot, the finale.
This is Tip Tipping gets some lines here and stuff. Like, I feel like he must have got a higher salary. I mean, he does the stunts. He does all these huge stunts. He gets some lines. Like, it's a regular Pat Gorman there. I mean,
yeah, or
Max Faulkner,
or no,
Faulkner is more of an actor. Stuart Fell, yeah.
The long tradition of
Stuart Fell talks in
universe.
Stuart Fell, I think, has one line, and that's the State of Decay. That's his only line in Doctor Who.
Only one.
These bolts are awesome, I have to say.
I know. I really loved the laser bolts at the time. They sort of like. I mean, they kind of look a little paint shoppy now, but
but this 1980 whatever, like
88.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better than nothing.
She's the Emperor.
It's a lot better than nothing, and then invert screen colors.
Yeah.
I mean, which still has its fecund charm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a
FECUND. Warren did not.
Yes.
The same video that I said about Terry Nation Army, Dalek 6388, explained that they completely reworked that Dalek battle and the aftermath in editing. Because originally there was going to be Daleks that there were just sort of like the Daleks that they shot, the gray Daleks that were shot were just like immobilized, like kind of stunned, if you will, and they were still there. But then wait a second, why don't we just have we've brought out this special weapons Dalek, why don't we use it to blow things up? And so they decided to do that, but then they had to work around, oh wait, there's a junkyard full of Daleks still, so they had to edit around all of that. And kind of changed a bit of like at the very end, when the Doctor sees that black Dalek out in the alley, there's a scene where the Dalek comes out of where he just went into hiding there and says, oh, what's all this? All my Daleks have been stunned and stuff. All that had to be chopped. It's kind of like the beginning of Star Wars, having to be saved in the edits.
By one Marcia Lucas.
Yeah. She didn't edit this one though.
No. I was going to say when they were holding up the time control, I do love how Doctor Who relies on household objects, more or less, as universe-spanning weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what the moment is when you get right down to it.
It's a box. Yeah.
It's a box.
Yeah.
We just don't show the box, you know? Just like now you can just sort of get away with it. You could be a little more self-aware and says, oh, just a big red button on it.
Okay, those are fetching Daleks, I have to give you that.
Right?
Also,
I'd
kudos
wear
for
the
actually
actual way.
moving on the ground without having to have, like, you know, planks of wood or something.
Oh, it's not easy, though. You can see them. They're on big, giant pneumatic tires. I mean, they're massive
So is the little
tires.
girl a Sith? That's my question.
Yes.
She
She
is
is
exhibiting
Sith.
Sith-like behavior.
She is a Sith. She's
Her name is Blondie Skywalker.
Blondie.
Well, that makes more sense in the end.
Blondie
Skywalker.
Shmee Skywalker. That's what her name is. Do they still sell replicas of that umbrella? Because I'd kind of want one again after having watched this.
Probably.
Okay.
I would think so. It's not really all that copyrightable.
No, I know they had them at the Doctor Who experience when we went there, but of course, you know, trying to stuff a massive umbrella into your luggage for the trip home is a little difficult. So,
As is bringing it on a plane.
as is bringing it on a plane, they don't let you do that. So, which is a wee bit of a shame.
It says currently unavailable, but there is a listing for it on Amazon Canada.
Crap, it's gonna be probably from some overseas place, and I'll pay an arm and a leg for it.
Yeah, speaking of Brian Purr, I was looking for the DVDs and I found them, but they were overseas and god-awful shipping. And maybe they work on my DVD player, and maybe they wouldn't.
They do. I got them. I bought the Blu-rays, and they work on my Xbox, Warren.
Oh, okay. Well, since I have an Xbox, I will try that.
Yep. Goodbye. See, he knows what's going on. Doctor is never shocked by anything in this whole story, which at the time bugged me. But I've gotten over it
Yeah,
now.
it still bugs me too. That was a cool effect as well.
Yeah, it's a little less good, but I appreciate it, Warren.
Listen, you freak out about Hartnell effect, so I don't think you have
That's
any
true.
grounds to.
I do.
crap
I
talk
do.
these.
Inlay effects and stuff because I don't know how they do it. That's
There's, depending upon your budget, there, Stephen. There's presently a listing for a Doctor Who 7th Doctor ? Umbrella
right.
on eBay UK
okay.
for £500,
Extreme fart noise to that.
approximately
I do like the,
£50 shipping.
I do like the flying up into the basically these rip off of Star Wars of it going into a larger ship.
So
Because normally they wouldn't even bother.
To
if
have
you want
a,
to spend $750 on this umbrella, you can do that.
I don't think I will. I don't think I will do that.
That's
Actually,
probably the wise thing to do.
I do regret now not getting
Like
that.
in the old days, they would just have it going like sort of half, just kind of drifting in, and it would be a very static shot. I guess
Oh,
it's a
I see
static
what you
shot
mean.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact they light it and it's it looks really cool.
It's a good model shot, but at the end when it blows up, it's clearly shot as because basically all the fire and stuff just falls down. Like they didn't.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's not the best model shot. Oddly enough, the best model shots and best model explosions happened during the late 70s, during the Graham Williams era. There are some superb explosions.
Here we go.
Here it is. I'm gonna fade my light out. Yeah. It's me. eventually.
This blew my mind.
Really? I didn't. It didn't blow my mind. For some reason, I just like,
blew
oh,
my
of course
mind,
it's
too.
Davros. No, it didn't blow my mind.
And then he just looks, again, super like badass with all the wires and
I
and all
know.
that kind of stuff. Just like
Well, he's
totally
just been, like-
integrated into the shell now. Probably
Is
never
that it, or is he,
I'm stealing that. Save your insults for the weak-minded.
or is it just he was just trying to hook up his VCR? It's like I'm just here doing some
It's like those AV cables just all
yeah, doing a little DIY here. You caught me off guard here, Doc. But
His voice kind of like the way they modulated it didn't seem quite right at the time.
it's similar, I think. It's not that hard to do, actually. Now with technology, it's a wobbly pane glass window there. It's probably just fabric, I'll bet.
If you squint, it looks like a clown sticking its tongue out.
I don't think you need to squint.
Good old clowny tongue.
I'm here with my racist grandma, who's not here apparently. Did you shoot her? Maybe she's dead.
Every single one of these people voted for Brexit.
Well, they died now. They're all dead, but not the...
because they
actors,
voted
sadly.
for Brexit.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the 3 emails we'll get of Brexiteers. I can't believe you. Well, bye.
Skaro.
So is this the first time Skaro has been destroyed?
Yes, I believe.
And
Like full
how
on.
many times has it been destroyed?
What are we at now? 2, 3? It's
I
back
think it's
to
2,
the
but I
TV
can't remember the
movie.
second time.
Don't know.
I don't know either.
Like in the Magician's Apprentice and the Witch's Familiar, they're on Skaro, so...
I do like that they rig up like a black and white TV. It's pretty cool.
I did
Very
find
meta.
it's not so great, but maybe okay enough DIY thing for making a Seventh Doctor umbrella.
I don't need to worry about that. I've
Passing
already
fancy,
forgotten
if you will.
about it. I mean, I like the pullover. I'd get the pull. I know the pullover is a little more easily accessible. I might be able to get one
In
of those. But.
T-shirt form for sure. As an actual jumper, I don't know.
I would never get in T-shirt form.
No, I want to get the proper pullover. I know they exist.
I would never get any of them in T-shirt form, to be honest with you.
They definitely had the pullover at Doctor Who Experience. The building isn't even there anymore. Apparently, it's very sad.
Yeah, probably a block of flats or something. Like
block of
like
something.
TV Center.
I've got a friend who thinks he knows about Doctor Who, and doesn't listen to this, so I can crap talk him. But he was like, oh, they film all of Doctor
Nice
Who
of
at
you as a
Pinewood.
friend.
Yeah, exactly. I think they do all Doctor Who at Pinewood, don't they? And I was like, no, they do it at Roath Lock, which is right next to the Doctor Who Experience in Cardiff. He's like, really? I'm like, yes, they do.
Yes, they don't do stuff at Pinewood. They've done the occasional thing at Pinewood. They shot a tiny bit of OB video for Warriors of the Deep, I believe, at Pinewood Studios.
This friend is not a Doctor Who friend. He just likes Doctor Who. He's
I
a
see.
friend. He's a Vancouver film friend,
Vancouverino, got it.
and he knows a lot more about film than I do in some ways. So I will give him that.
Well, does he though?
Yeah. Yes,
Didn't know
he does.
Doctor Who was shot at Pinewood Studios, apart from that one scene in
That's
Warriors
not
of the
film.
Deep
That's Doctor Who.
in
That's
1983.
an entirely different set of esoteric nonsense.
No.
There strikes the first blow of the Time War.
Oh, that's right. Well, is it really
For
though? I
those who
think
choose to believe that.
No.
I think it's
I'm
Genesis.
going with Genesis. Yeah,
Yeah, it's Genesis.
Genesis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Time Lords send him there to screw everything up. That's the
Yeah.
that's the Time War defined.
I mean, this is a big one. You know that you could look at that as World War One, and this is probably World War Two because now
But
the Daleks are
Resurrection
going.
is what? The Cuba Missile Crisis?
Yeah, probably actually, very much so. Yeah, because they do threaten the Time Lords. Like, we're gonna go kill the Time Lords for some reason.
With
So,
our,
all
with
right.
our clones or whatever.
Emperor abandoning bridge.
Thanks for the play-by-play there, Dalek. Who's that guy? What's your job? Play-by-play. That's what I do. See, here's this explosion is a little bit iffy.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it is.
It just
hangs there.
It just hangs there. They just sort of
And the smoke going up like that. Yeah.
yeah.
I do enjoy that Davros is like, I'm out.
But at the end of the day, who cares? Crap blew up.
Exactly.
I guess. But
Yeah,
they
it's
should have
like-
shot that. Like,
It's like that SCTV thing with John Candy and Joe Flaherty. Blowed up real good.
I guess. But I mean, you look at the 35 mil stuff shot for Time on the Ronnie by Andrew Morgan. Is well, maybe not by Andrew Morgan, but in the same story directed by him, and it's just like it is amazing model work, and here it's not as good. I have to think Mike Tucker wasn't involved. He totally was, isn't he? Prove me wrong now. Mike Tucker was probably on that shot. And they go, oh yeah, it's my best work ever. Blam.
My little green
I always
friend.
love like the stairs shifting and the banister getting knocked down. And
I know.
I love how
it's like
Killing
it's like-
McGee he got there.
Yeah. See, there's the Dalek. He's come out of his little, he just, in the edited version, it's like, oh, he's just a Dalek hanging out in the middle of the street. Well, he came out of hiding. That's why we never saw it, though.
Simon Harries took me to this very street, I think.
Is that why? I know we went to the,
We went to the resurrection stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
We went out another day to this around this neighborhood. And I'm pretty sure it's where this crossing thing is.
that is pretty cool. Probably
Yeah,
still looks the
Resurrection
same.
is, what's it called? Butler's Wharf?
Butler's Wharf sounds
Something like
familiar,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all like,
I've been there. It
high-priced flats
does
now.
look cool.
It does with all the gangplanks.
Yeah,
there,
yeah. Oh, that's weird. I hadn't even thought about that. But yes, I've actually been in this neighborhood.
They had to chop out a scene because you could see right in there, right? You can't see it right now, but there's a whole bunch of gray Daleks just sitting in that opening. They had to edit around.
That is quite enough, young Miss Palpatine.
Yeah. Wonder if she went on to act in child actors they hit puberty and they go, I don't want to act anymore. What's this nonsense? They do something else. Fair. I just watched AI recently with Haley Joel Osment, who was like a superstar as a young kid, and then he went on. He still acts, he still does stuff, but I mean,
he's like a lawyer now or something.
No, he's an actor.
He's an actor. Like he was in Silicon Valley, for example.
Yeah,
he was.
I guess so. I never saw it, but
I can't remember the character's name.
But like sometimes like a child actor, go, wow, what an amazing child. But then after that, then you're just like every other actor when you become an adult and you're an actor. Well, there's a billion adult actors, but there's not that many good child actors. So they become less special, basically.
My coworker was a local child actor. He showed me a couple of ads of him looking all excited about hockey and stuff like that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. He has zero interest. I don't think he was all that interested in the first place.
No.
He did.
Parents probably pushed him into it or something.
So according to IMDb, no, not really.
No.
It's okay. We're going to go to Tatooine and bury these lightsabers for no reason.
She's got a researcher credit in 2004. And then a credit for Doctor Who Confidential for archive footage. So,
good old archive footage. Oh, boy.
I like how we act as if this is some sort of shameful act, as opposed to just living your life like a normal human being.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like, oh, wow, she bombed out as an actor. No, she just didn't feel like doing it anymore.
Yeah, and how many actors bomb out after 2 or 3 years anyway? What's Pauly Shore up to? And by the way, that guy's entire career is due to his mother, Mitzi Shore, owning the Comedy Store. So,
yep, it's true.
Wow.
I guess she did
Take that.
She did some Caldo City stuff.
Bit of a left hook to Pauly Shore there towards the end of this commentary.
Take that.
Wasn't expecting that.
America's treasure, beloved Pauly Shore.
Oh, his racist grand is still alive. Oh, that's good. Because she was there.
Vote Brexit.
She was on the arm of Group Captain Chunky Gilmore. Well, that's great. I do like that they bow out. I don't like funerals either. Let's get out of here. Ace is wearing Batman earrings periodically. She's wearing them sometimes, but sometimes she is not. Apparently they got lost. They got lost overnight, and they had to frantically like buy new ones at considerable expense. That's why the show went £13,000 over budget. They had to get those Batman earrings.
Absolutely.
That you never noticed were missing.
To go with her Bell Atlantic badge.
Who hasn't celebrated a regional phone provider?
Someone must have cataloged, like Crystal D, when she was heavy into the Doctor Who cosplaying with the Doctor Who fan show. She had a replica Ace jacket.
It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, she must have like carefully cataloged every single badge on there. I think this one's from that one's the Blue Peter badge. Ian Dow no longer with us. Haven't heard much from Dave Chapman. I feel like there's a Doctor Who magazine expose on Dave Chapman. Not expose.
Expose, yeah.
Dave Chapman's video effects work of the 1980s. Good old Marty.
He would sometimes eat at his
Say-
desk. Yes, it can be told now.
Yeah.
There's what looks like a pretty good bit of research on what's her name cosplay.wordpress.com about making a replica of Ace's jacket and all the
really? Wow.
pins and whatnot.
Well, how about that?
There's lots of close-up pictures. I don't know if these are like taken from
Screen
like,
accurate?
Doctor Who experience or what, but yeah, no, lots of close-up shots here.
Wow. Well, there we go. You can
Bell Atlantic Safe Driver Award.
You can rebuild your Ace coat. You can build a Seventh Doctor umbrella. All this, of course, is spoiling a surprise for Warren's birthday. Warren, act surprised when you get all these things coming in the mail.
Oh boy,
because,
thank you.
Yep, they're coming to you
For your effort.
All right. Well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed that commentary. This is the exciting part of the podcast where we select the next one. Chris, I assume you've got the old randomizer ready to go there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Begin the spinning of it now. Off we go. Enjoyed this little run. Hope you're enjoying the breaking down of 25 minutes per each, because that's after all, that's how it all started. These episodes, so kind of like it. Well, I mean, we record them. Spoiler alert: we usually record all of them at the same time. I don't know if you can tell that, given that we reference stuff that happened a week prior.
We normally wouldn't remember 1 week to the next. Yeah,
I don't even remember anything. I mean, I don't remember. To be honest, I don't remember episode 1 anymore, or episode 2 for that matter. So maybe we do them separately. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough fill-in time, Chris. Stop. Oh no.
Planets of Evil.
Oh,
nice.
There we go. Little Planet
times.
of Evil. Little jungle set action. Wow.
No, that's the wrong one.
the wrong one. That's Face of Evil.
That's Face of Evil. Pardon me. I screwed up my evils. I just like saying, "Who am I?"
That's all right. No, it's Dave Maloney's directing. It's Louis Mahoney. It's Michael Wisher.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Great
Well, you know
stuff.
what I'm going to do during this commentary? Say,
Yeah?
"Who am I?" a lot. That's what I'm
Probably.
Sure.
Let's face it, Warren.
Yeah.
You won't remember that. You won't remember any of that.
I sure
so,
won't.
no.
I sure will not.
All right. Well, the next classic series commentary, we dip back to 1975, the greatest year in history of the human race. At least for 2 of the 3 of us.
I was wondering when that was going to come out.
Planet of Evil from season 13. Join us, won't you? Until next time, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
We're in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com. Follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro. Subscribe to us on iTunes and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.